Hey guys, I'm here with some scary stories to tell you about. If you like this video, then please subscribe because more videos are coming soon. So let's get started. No. 1. The sound of screaming. When a woman got a job at a certain hotel, she met many interesting characters, including an old handyman rumored to be over 100 years old. One day while working in the basement, she heard screams that stopped her heart. Then she saw him. He was sitting on a chair humming a tune. As she asked if he was all right, he replied that he was fine before asking if she could hold his tools. He promised to pay her back later. And then he began to scream again. She dropped the tools and ran out of the basement as fast as she could. Later, someone told her that the old man had passed away peacefully in his sleep. But after listening to the recording from the security camera, we can hear that the last sound he made was a scream. It's believed that he screamed so hard that he died right there in the basement. Number 2. The picture in the bathroom. A girl found a photo of a woman in the bathroom at school. The woman was beautiful, but something about her made the girl feel uneasy. She couldn't put her finger on it, but when she showed the photo to her friends, they were shocked. They said that the woman in the photo was their former classmate who went missing 3 years earlier. Her name was Maria. No one knew what happened to her until the day her parents found her diary. In the last entry, she wrote about how she felt like a nobody and how she wanted to disappear. And the next day, she vanished without a trace. Some believe that she's still out there. Others say she took her own life. But every time someone mentions her, they always feel uneasy. No. 3. The empty crib. Every night at 2:03 a.m., a baby's wail echoed through the neonatal ward coming from an empty crib. Cameras showed no baby, just a faint shape rocking the crib gently. Nurses whispered it was the ghost of a newborn who died decades ago, still crying for a mother who never came. 4. The music box. A young couple bought an old music box at an antique store without knowing its dark history. The moment the music box was brought into their home, strange things began to happen. They heard whispers and footsteps. They even saw shadows moving around them. One day, the woman found a note in the attic, written in German. The note told the story of a young girl who received the same music box from her lover. He promised to return every night at midnight to dance with her. But one night he never showed up. The heartbroken girl waited for him every night, only to be let down. Eventually, she took her own life. The couple understood then that the music box was cursed, and they had to break it to free the girl's spirit. They did so, but they also vanished without a trace. No. 5. The mirror. An elderly lady had a large antique mirror restored by an antique dealer. She told him to make sure to remove the old paint from the frame, but he assured her it would keep the mirror's character. However, once he delivered the mirror, she refused to accept it. She was furious at him for not removing the paint. The next day, he went back to fix it. But when he turned the mirror around to remove the paint, he saw the reflection of a little girl looking at him sadly. He finished this work and left. And from that day on, the mirror became famous throughout the town for being haunted by a little girl who was sad that no one could see her. The train. A boy was walking along the train tracks one day when he noticed a small dog sitting beside the tracks. He thought it was lost or abandoned, so he sat beside it to comfort it. Then the ground began to shake. They both looked up to see a massive steam train approaching them. The boy panicked and tried to run away, but the train's whistle sounded like a death knell. He closed his eyes tight, waiting for the impact, but it never came. When he opened his eyes, he was lying on the ground unharmed, but the dog was gone. He looked down the tracks to see that the train had vanished completely. Some say it was a ghost train that takes lost souls to the afterlife. No. 7. The shadow people. A woman was visiting her friend in another city. They were hanging out in an abandoned house when suddenly a shadow loomed over them. They looked up to see a tall, thin man with sharp teeth. Then he disappeared. They thought they were seeing things, so they left the house and decided to go to a bar instead. But when they walked outside, they saw the same man standing there staring at them. They tried to ignore him, but he kept following them. Eventually, they got on their knees and begged him to stop following them, but he simply shook his head and walked away. They never saw him again, but they believe that he may be haunting the area. No. 8. The wedding dress. A seamstress was altering a wedding dress when she noticed that it was unlike any other dress she'd ever seen before. The lace was exquisite, and the beads and pearls seemed to have a life of their own. As she worked on the dress, she heard whispers all around her. She ignored them, believing they were just remnants of the previous owner. But then she heard her name. Startled, she looked around but saw no one. She pressed on, finishing the dress as quickly as she could, and when it was done, she brought it to the shop owner. As she hung it on the rack, they heard footsteps coming down the stairs. They both looked up to see a young woman wearing the dress. She smiled at them and said, "Thank you for fixing my dress." Before vanishing into thin air, the seamstress never forgot the bride who was stuck between worlds. No, the doll babysitter was taking care of a little girl. When the power went out, the little girl insisted on going to check on the doll in the corner. When they approached the doll, the girl screamed and ran back to the couch. She said the doll moved its hand. After calming her down, the babysitter tried to convince her that it was just a doll. But then she heard footsteps coming down the stairs. They grew louder and louder until they reached the top of the stairs where they stopped. Then silence fell once again. The babysitter tried to leave, but the door was locked. She turned around to face the stairs, and as she climbed them, she felt a cold breeze on her neck. Number 10. The Scream. One night, a driver was driving home from a party when he saw a group of people standing by the side of the road screaming and waving their arms. He stopped to ask if they needed help, and they told him that their friend had vanished. He listened as they described their missing friend, and he realized that he had seen him at the party. The driver offered to help find their friend, but as he drove on, he heard a scream that sent shivers down his spine. He turned around to see the group of people standing in the middle of the road screaming at the top of their lungs. He slammed on the brakes and raced toward them, but when he reached them, they vanished. All that was left behind was a single shoe. That's all for today, folks. Please subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.